So now that you have your edit looking nice, crispy, entertaining, you're telling your story, and we've used the audio from our actual clips or added in pretend audio, if you want to call it, post production audio to some of our clips to really sweeten up the overall video. Before we dive into really using music to create music montage in the next section, what I want to do as an experiment for you, because there's some really big insights and some just overall understandings as an editor that I really want you to grasp on how much audio is affecting your edit and how much the marriage between audio and visual is what creates the movies, commercials, TV shows, all the things that you love and that you are inspired by. The reason you feel that way is because there is this perfect synergy between these two elements of audio and video. Okay. That's one of the reasons why video is one of the most impactful mediums across all the artistic platforms. Of course, art, painting is amazing, photography is amazing, singing or, all the other stuff is amazing as well. I'm not pressing any of them down, but what I'm saying is that video, film, creating content is the one that uses all still imagery, motion, movement, sound, visuals, all the senses, except for, I guess, smell and touch, but the strongest senses that we have, I'm kind of rambling on here. To wrap up this thought, the strongest senses that we have as humans are sight and sound, okay? If you go without your smelling and you lost your sense of smell, yeah, it would kind of suck, If you lost your sense of touch or taste, yeah, that would suck, But losing your vision or your hearing would be a massive life change. The other ones would really suck, but these two are a massive life change. Why is that? Because these are the most connected to our experiential life that we live as humans. So, bit of a rant there, but I want you to really see, the deeper level. That's what I want this to do, is really teach you deeper level of what you're doing and how it's affecting other people. So let's move over to the screen cap here. And I want to kind of show the process, a little bit of an overview of the process of going through and choosing proper music for your edit. Now, if we were to put this edit that we just worked on together in a theme, I would say nature, travel, outdoors. Okay. It's not a crazy action sports video. It's not an artistic, moody music video. Okay. So yours is probably in the family, friends, outdoors, memory type of genre. So that's the kind of feeling that we want to cultivate even more through the music that we're going to choose. Okay. So there's a few ways of getting your music for your edits. Like I mentioned with, getting sound effects in the past through just kind of ripping them off YouTube. You don't really want to do that unless you have permission. Okay. You can get in trouble. You can get flagged, copyright. You don't want to get any strikes on any of your channels. So the two main ways are to reach out to the artist directly, and you can ask for permission to use the video, that you're not selling it, you're not repurposing it, and you're not using it to really for any monetary gains. Generally, if you ask people for that it's a passion project or something that's not of a professional nature. Kind of, people are pretty nice about it. If the artist is nice, that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to use content pools. For example, of course, I use Epidemic Sound because of their library of stuff, but in the past, I have definitely gone through SoundCloud, found tracks that I liked, reached out to the person directly. There's plenty of other sound libraries as well that you can try. So have an idea of how you want to get a hold of your music for whatever works best for you. And I'm just going to personally go through some past downloads that I have and find maybe 4 or 5 tracks. You really want to know the type of edit you're working with and pick 4 or 5 ones that might vibe and might make your edit even better. And then we're going to go to the next step of pulling that in and testing them out. So if you haven't already, gather 4 to 5 tracks that you think might work for your edit. You'll either instantly know right away, oh yeah, I have the perfect song, or you'll go through this process that we're about to go through of flipping through, skipping ahead, and seeing which one catches your ear, remembering what the visuals are of your video and keeping that in mind. So let's just kind of scroll through here. So I would put this in like a Christmas category. That's not what we're looking for. Okay, this one's got like an inspirational kind of vibe. But a little bit too on the inspirational side for my taste. Yeah. Vocals aren't going to work for this type of video. And this is a little too like late night driving the car. I don't even know. This is not going to work. Kind of cool. I'm going to mark it just in case. Okay. I right clicked it and then I went and just tagged it with a color. Too dramatic. We're looking for something with the right amount of energy. Maybe, possibly. I'm going to mark that just in case. That's kind of cool. Let's mark that one. That might work. Okay. That one's got kind of an adventurous vibe. I would put the video that I've been working on in an adventurous category. So keep that in mind of what category you'd put your video in. Too much energy. Okay, so we have 4 tracks here. So I'm going to highlight these 4 tracks and I'm going to create a new window. And I'm going to go to our original folder that we worked so hard to organize and put together. And I'm going to create a new folder called music. You see how this is all coming together? We got everything in one place. Don't need to worry about where things went. And I'm going to copy these tracks and I'm going to paste them into our wonderfully placed music folder. And now I'm going to go over to my editing software and I'm going to drop it in there. Okay. So now we have footage, music, sequences, sound effects. And here's a little side tip here. Any kind of layers or things that you create in your edit are going to start stacking up in your project window. So what I actually like to do is make an assets folder because you're going to have different things that you start dragging in that don't go under music or footage or go under other categories. Maybe you drag in a few photos or still images. You can drag those kind of miscellaneous things into an assets folder. So now let's go here to our actual edit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click this lock icon. Now, what we're doing here is locking off all of our audio for our project. Why I'm doing that is because when I drag in and start moving around this music that we're going to add, I don't want to mess with anything that doesn't need to be changed. Okay. So in your editing software, it is optional. You don't absolutely need to, but I would recommend locking off stuff that you don't want change once you get to that stage of your edit. So let's go to our first track here. I'm going to double click it And I like doing it this way where I double click it and bring it up in this window so I can see the waveform. This is going to tell you exactly what's going on in the track. Okay, so I know here's the drop of the song. I know here's a break. I know here's another drop. And this is the intro. And there's kind of an outro here. So if we listen to the intro, I don't think we would really use the intro. So let's just make an in point by hitting I right before the drop. Okay. And then we'll hit an out point at the end of the track. And we can obviously move things around a little bit, but we just want to get a feel for right away. We'll be able to see if this audio and visual lines up. I'm not a huge fan. I feel like the pacing is way too different for this song and this edit. For example, what I'm going to do just to kind of illustrate that point is I'm going to duplicate this and I'm just going to title this music tests because I want to show you what it's like when you want to match up visual and audio. So in my mind, if I were to make this song match this edit, if I really wanted to use this song with this footage, let's say I really liked it and I wanted to make it work, I wouldn't do that. But for this scenario, we would want to pick up the pacing of our edit, which means the frequency of our cuts. We're cutting slow, and doing this very slow nature story. So if you were to drag in a track like this for your edit and you wanted to make it match up more, I would listen to the beat. Cut. Okay. And this is going to be a little sloppy. We're not doing anything really cleanly here. I just want to show you. Okay. Good. And let's not worry about the audio from our shots here. This is the type of song where you can introduce some jumping ahead because that's going to really match up the vibe of the song. I'm listening to the kick and the snare, which are the two strongest elements of the track. And you really want to ride and listen to what the track is telling you to do with the edit. So let's just take a look at what we've done so far, just to see. So that should give you an idea of a track that isn't really right for the edit, but if you wanted to kind of make things work, if the track has got a little bit more energy than the actual footage or more of a faster tempo of your edit, you can kind of speed things up, slow things down, editing wise, to make those things sync up and really be a little bit more cohesive. So let's go ahead and get rid of this track though for now, and let's go to the next option. Here's a good lesson that we can kind of learn here is that if we look at the waveform, we can see that this is the intro and that this is where the excitement happens, the drop, right? Where the beat comes in and the energy really gets picked up. So what I want to do is add a marker there by hitting M, okay? And the cool thing is you can use a part of a track like that to really accentuate a moment that is impactful. This is called a striking point. So what I want to kind of do here to give you a little bit more insight, and hopefully you're going to be able to experiment with your footage and a track along with me, is to now what we've done so far is really edited with a pacing that matched the audio of our environment. Now we're switching around our pacing to match the audio of our music track. So I'm going to lock this music track to keep it in place. And that will allow me to freely move around everything else and not affect it, okay? So I know that for this marked spot, I want to have the footage with the most movement and kind of excitement as possible. And for this example, we're just going to use this one. So I'm going to scooch this musical track over to match up with when this shot comes in. And we're going to be looking for moments to kind of cut ahead and make things feel a little bit more quick. Okay, right here, we can make a cut and slide everything over so it skips forward. Okay, now on this big hit right here, we will bring in our next visual. Now, what we'll do is kind of trim up the intro to further match this vibe of this track. So instead of using this whole intro here, let's go ahead and start it. If we take a listen, we can see that the beginning of the track starts here. But there's going to be another moment where we can cut in and it'll still feel right. It's going to be right, boom, right there. So we saved ourselves about 10 seconds of not having to use that intro. So for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to temporarily cut this music layer and I'm going to drag it over to the front of our edit. That way we're going to scrunch everything down here that can fit in the intro. We're going to scrunch it down so that it fits and it'll flow seamlessly into this part that we just edited. Boom. I'm going to skip forward here. And then right on this calm part right here. That's perfect for our little meditation yogi part. So let's take a look at the thing all the way through. So, as you can see, of course, we would want to fill that out a lot more and have more of a proper definitive ending, but we've taken our edit really quickly and completely changed the entire vibe of the overall final product.